They say he's better. I look him in the eyes, I see a glassy look. He's not really there, it's a life they took. He no longer cries, no longer sings. Hardly ever laughs, don't do much of anything. But he's much more quiet, he's not in the hair. Also much less alive, but they don't really care. Less in the way is what...
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger with NaturalNews.com. You've heard the song Define Better. It is a hard-hitting rap, hip-hop style song, great tunes that questions the psychiatric drugging of our children. And this song has been promoted here on Natural News and also by the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, CCHR. And the artist who created this song is here to join us on the phone today to talk about where the song came from and what the experience has been putting this out there. His name is Chili B. Chili B, thank you for joining me today here on Natural News.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to finally chat with you. I really enjoyed your song. What has been the response so far on your lyrics and your music?
Well, the response has been pretty much overwhelming, to say the least. Been getting good response. The couple of responses that may not seem a good response have just been, the people that are arguing contrary to the fact that there's too many people being labeled and drugged, and the motivation is financial as the motivation, and it needs to be stopped. And I think the song has done great at least setting the stage for honest dialogue.
Yeah, the lyrics of this music explain a lot, and they should raise questions in the minds of people who are new to this subject. But it's apparent to me that you've known about this for a long time. Can you talk about the origins of this song and what motivated you to put this down in such a compelling piece of music?
Sure. Well, this song actually follows as a follow-up to my video from last year. Spring last year, I independently filmed a video that for a song called Y'all Busted. And I sent the link to the video to CCHR International as well as CCHR Florida. And then from there, it's just been a whirlwind of conversation and agreement, if you will, to the fact that there's a lot of kids being labeled ADHD, and that by giving them these strong psychotropic drugs that lead to suicide and in some cases instant death, it's just getting out of control, and no one is really addressing it, and someone has to address it. And I figured that I'd be a great candidate for that because I feel so strongly in our youth being our future, and I could see from my experience with working with youth that there's a lot of kids that are labeled ADHD or special education and giving these strong drugs for it. And then I've also had a conversation with people who are adults now who have survived through that whole thing, who were either given these drugs themselves and did not like it, had negative experience and was talking about it, or they had kids or loved ones that were given these psychotropic drugs, and they were telling me their stories of survival.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that there's a lot of voices out there that aren't being heard, and rap music has been one form of art that has bridged a lot of gaps, from the young and the old and the different nationalities of people. So it was a healthy way to put this message on the table for conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. In fact, probably, I don't know if folks over at CCHR told you, but I've contributed to that effort in my own ways, put out a few songs, which is one reason why I wanted to talk to you so much, because as a music artist myself, I'm fascinated by your process. And I wanted to ask you, I heard an early version of your lyrics on YouTube, and from that very early version to the finished song, which is just really well done, very well mixed. You have additional supporting vocals from a female vocalist. Can you talk about how that process took shape?
Sure. So as I said, that Define Better falls on the heels of Y'all Busted. And I should also mention that when the success of Y'all Busted, some of the rebuttal that I've received, or some of the feedback, if you will, would be that they agree with the message. They agree with what I'm saying. But by the same token, they'd also say that they were administering this medication to their son or daughter, and that it makes them better.
So what is Y'all Busted? What's the main message of that song?
Y'all Busted basically confronts the fact that psychiatrists don't have a test to determine ADHD, and yet they're diagnosing people daily with it and prescribing drugs for it. It pretty much just confronts the whole idea that this has been going on for such a long time, and that now that they're busted because that I'm revealing that this is an idea to basically drug our youth, with these psychotropic drugs. And so because of after that video and the response that I received, I say, well, define better. If you say it makes you better, define better.
Right.
And so you were relating the first version, the early version that you heard, to the finished version that you heard now. That was just a rush version that I just did because I felt the need to kind of release that song out there at that time. And after I released it, I had some friends who said that they could help me do it sort of be 10 times better, and we can master it, and it just sound extremely nice. And so we went through that process. It took a couple of months, but it was well worth it because the song did come out a lot stronger, and I think it communicates a lot better. I like both versions of the song, but the version that we have online now definitely communicates the urgency and hopefully demands the attention that this needs. Is that there has to become an end to the labeling and drugging, because we all know, I'd be singing to the choir by speaking to you and possibly a lot of the listeners is that, they're basically giving a label to to a symptom that's already existing. It's not really a symptom, it's not really a disease, it's just a behavior, and they're giving it a name and being able to label it so that they can prescribe it a medication.
Well, yeah. All these behaviors, the DSM, the Bible of modern psychiatry, is a complete fraud. They diagnose you with disease for being fidgety or having too many projects on your plate, or young boys being active and want to be more physically active and learning through physical sensations and so on. The whole thing is a complete joke. What I'm really...
My youngest...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my youngest son fell into the category where they were trying to label him healthy kid, and for about a month or two after he got the label, is the prime candidate for ADHD medication, was what we were told. 3 weeks or a month maybe later, he didn't have it anymore. So at least suspect a lot of that is going on, all over the place.
I want to ask you, too, about the music video itself. And, folks, if you have not yet seen this video, just go on to YouTube, or you can go on to NaturalNews.tv, and you can search for the term Define Better, and you'll see the video. The video is quite amazing in that it's super compelling, yet it features mostly animated words. I wish I had friends like yours who did that incredible mix, because the mix is great, but the video is also fantastic. Can you talk about how the video was made?
Well, the initial videos, if you saw the first link that I had on YouTube, that was just my makeshift editing. I never really edited video before, so I just did some editing here, just to give it a visual so I could put the song on and I could actually share the link in my other social sites and so forth. So that was just my jab at it. I think I did a pretty decent job, but of course, not having not being my expertise and not having the high-end tools to do it with, it would only look so good. But once we did the song and we had demoed the song, again, a group of my friends just decided that we should just go ahead and do a video and put the video together just so that we could have something that we could deliver to CCHR International and, just to help with their campaign with just, getting this message out there.
I'm curious. So that it wasn't like CCHR didn't do the video. It was your friends who did it, and then you sort of handed it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And what I want to do, and what I'm doing is, I just registered through my own label is to offer the song because a lot of people have been asking for it on iTunes. So just did a registration thing now. Supposed to show up tomorrow. Well, should I say tomorrow would actually be the 29th. It would show up on iTunes, and so people can support that way. And portion of the proceeds is going to CCHR International, just as a contribution that I wish to make to them for their campaign as well.
Oh, that's outstanding. All right, folks. So search for that song "Define Better" on iTunes, and of course watch the video on YouTube as well. Do you, Chili Bee? Do you have do you have a background in music or vocals and also what's your? You mentioned before that you have some experience of working with children. Can you talk a little bit about your background to provide some context for this song?
Sure. Well, with regards to the kids, I've always had a heart for kids and for our youth because I realized years ago that they're most valuable resources that we cannot afford to live without. And so from years ago, I've volunteered as a basketball coach because basketball was my sport. Was my favorite sport. I played at the college level, and I wanted to give back to the youth, as my coaches gave to me when I was younger, is the love of basketball, teach them to love and respect the game, to honor the game, and to hopefully better their skills and so on and so forth. So, and during that, kind of built my resume up as a youth mentor and went into football, assistant coach for football, after-school program director for many years for the city here in the East Bay. I live in Northern California. And so I was a program director for youth. So that gave me an opportunity to work with hundreds, if not thousands, of other people's kids. And as my kids became old enough to come through these programs, of course, they came through the programs as well. So I had an opportunity to spend quality time with my kids as they developed, socially and academically. So during those experiences, I was able to observe other kids and to observe the behaviors of adults and their attitudes toward these other kids that in a lot of cases were labeled, in most cases were labeled with either, like I said, ADHD or being in special education class. And there was some type of a warning that they were trying to give me with my interaction with the kid, and just kind of didn't settle too well with me because these were coming from grown-ups that were entrusted to supervise and make these experiences enriching these kids' lives, not to hinder them, So that didn't set too well with me. As far as with, you asked me about my music background, I guess for a lot of people that have heard only just my works of Define Better and or possibly Y'all Busted, there's a whole long history that's missing that goes back 20 plus years ago. And I kind of made a name for myself here in Northern California, which became kind of regional. I would say late 80s to maybe the early 90s, mid 90s, and then I had kind of a semi-national name. I mean, we had some successes with having the video on BET and California Music Channel and Video Jukebox, just a couple of national networks that were playing my video. And a lot of people may know me from a lot of advertisements I did for a big game company back in the 90s that was really popular. And so I had a couple of funny commercials that tended to take people off guard when they're at home eating dinner or watching another program, and all of a sudden my commercial would pop on and kind of scare the snot out of people. So,
was it music or was it some other kind of commercial?
No, it was actually a commercial for Sega of America.
All right.
And I had kind of a recurring character that was kind of a cross between a drill sergeant and probably a WWE wrestler or something. It was one of those, the guy was just, it's been called the angry black guy is what it's been referred to just by some people.
That's funny.
In commercials, but
well,
yeah, it was just it's a pretty funny commercial. It's on my YouTube channel as well, but a lot of people know me from that. But for my new friends, I don't refer to them as fans, but for my new friends, I'm saying as of last year and this year, there's a whole lot of history of stuff from in the past, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you all about it in a 1 hour slot of time.
Yeah. Well, let me go back and ask you more about your interactions with both children as a basketball coach and also observing the way that parents interact with children in that context. Would you agree with this idea that it's not the kids that have disorders, that it's really more that the parents who buy into this psychiatric diagnosis, that they're the ones who have a kind of mental sickness almost? I mean, the kids are fine. The kids need leadership and the kids need good examples. It's the parents who are all messed up by believing in these chemical solutions. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go as far to say that the parents are messed up or have a mental illness or to that extent. But because I say as a parent myself is that we as parents, we want what's best for our kids. And any parent that is giving their kid this medication is doing so because they went to someone that they respect as a specialist, and this person told them that this is what their son needed, and they believe this person.
So they have good intentions.
That's where yes, they have good intentions, but that's where we fall short as parents is once we give that much power into someone else to tell you all about your son or your daughter when you spend more time with them, or you should be spending more time with them than anybody else. And so, yeah, we do. It is a bad thing because we want what's the best for our kids. And if it's the case when it's with the school, a lot of times it's the last case scenario that, this kid, we've tried everything else. We've tried counseling and everything. It didn't work. And now we have to go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And if they try to give us medication and tell us that it's going to make our son better or our daughter better, of course we want our son or daughter to be better, so we're going to go along with it. We believe that this is a way that's going to make our child better. And even the people that are even in the Dead Wrong video that CCHR is circulating, that was their intention. And the stories are not good stories at the ending. And then when you see it happening all over the board, all across the board, and you see it happening, people being diagnosed. I mean, I've actually met people recently who said that they were diagnosed with ADHD, or they were told they had ADHD and was given medication, and they weren't even taking their medication.
Uh-huh.
They were giving it to somebody else. And it's like, wow. And it's just easy. It's just so easy to get it. I mean, you could just go in there and tell the doctor that, you have a hard time sleeping at night and you have headaches sometimes, you have reoccurring dreams. That might be enough right there to get some type of medication from those
Incredible.
guys. And so for me, I'm saying is that I try to tell parents is that we as parents, I mean, when we fall for that, we basically, it seems kind of harsh to say, but I'm not apologetic by it. It's just that we're being bamboozled into believing that the behavior of our child has a label to it as such that there's going to be a drug that they should be given to deal with that behavior.
Do you see signs today that more parents and maybe even more teens are starting to question psychiatry and to think more clearly about, whether these are real diseases or not? I mean, are things moving in the right direction here in terms of awareness on this issue?
I think so. I actually think so, that there's more people that believe, that question it. I mean, for instance, people that were students that were taking psychology at the local junior college and had midway through the first semester to drop the class because the studies, the stuff that the history of psychology and psychiatry, they have to study all this stuff about what, how they do their practice and everything. And just by learning, just by being educated on that, they drop classes because of the evil of that. These are people that are don't even know who CCHR is, but they are And I felt the same way even before I met CCHR, before I knew who CCHR was. I always believed that ADHD was, I'd say ADHD is a hoax, you know, that this, and I didn't know where it was coming from, but then as I investigated a little bit more, I found out how it all came about. And then they also find out from psychiatrists themselves who say there's no test to prove it, there's no cure for it, and that in the long run what they're doing is counterproductive.
Yeah.
That says enough. This is coming from the people that prescribe this, so I have to believe that.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Well, CCHR has put out some interesting videos that actually ask psychiatrists, is there a test? And they all admit, no, there's no test. There's nothing physiologically real. This is all just a label slapped onto some child because of some observable behavior and an opinion by a psychiatrist. Quite bizarre.
You know, we were at the airport. I think we were coming back from Israel. I can't remember where we were coming from, but we met a person who was saying that they were enraged that they were listening in the car, listening to a radio show that had a psychiatrist on the air. This is a popular radio show, and they had this guy on, and they were taking calls from people. They were letting people call in and talk to this guy and ask questions or whatever. And one lady called in, and she was saying, my son just seems like he's out of control, and I can't really get him to cooperate like he used to, and it's really difficult for me. And then the psychiatrist says, some asks her a question or something like, does he stay up at night? Does he have a hard time sleeping? Oh, yes, he has a hard time sleeping. Okay. What about, ask him another general question. And she's, oh, yes, he does, absolutely. And he says, well, basically what you need to do is you need to take two, and said some drug that was kind of like a kind of prescription type of drug that this guy basically prescribed already for this lady over a phone call, over the radio.
Incredible.
To this lady, and told her that she should go down to her doctor and ask her this is what you need to do. She should take 1.5 or 2. He just kind of gave her the dosage or whatever. And it was this really bizarre thing. And the guy said he was so upset that he was wishing that he could call in on the radio to complain to this guy, because there's so many people that are listening that are impressionable. Some people are, some people aren't. I mean,
Well,
some people
look, that
kind of would question that whole thing anyway, but then there's a lot of people that wouldn't question it.
But what you just described there, that's pure quackery. I mean, there's no other word for it. And that's just completely unethical. And it happens all the time. But also, I've got one more question for you here. But before that, I got to interject here. For people listening, when your doctor says you've tried everything, or when parents say they've tried everything, I guarantee you 99% of them have not tried dietary changes and getting their kids off the refined sugars, off the high fructose corn syrup, off the artificial coloring additives. Just those changes can completely transform children.
Absolutely. I believe that 150%. I've always felt that it was nutritional, a combination of nutritional and environmental, and possibly, I know recreation habits. I know nowadays they have different avenues of recreation than they did the old school way of just playing football on the street or always having to find some way to entertain yourself, because we didn't have as many nice things for entertainment as we do now. So I don't know. I definitely would say diet and environment as the two major things.
Yeah, totally agree. That's an area that's completely overlooked by psychiatry, which is now really basically owned by the pharmaceutical industry. But let me ask you the final question here. What is next for Chili B? Do you have another song in the works? Are you speaking on this issue? What do you got in the works for us, man?
A little bit of everything. A little bit of both of what you mentioned, actually. Yeah, we do have another song in the works, and we're going to get it to you as soon as it's done. And so yeah, we have definitely a follow-up for Define Better. We just keep the theme going, a trilogy so far. This will be the third installment of this series. And yeah, just be speaking on it. I mean, I found myself having to speak about it in some cases. Run across some people, they want to know more, about the song and motivation behind it. And then a lot of people just want to share the story just because there's so much in agreement with the song and they just never heard a song like it before. So I feel honored to be the person to deliver a product like that. And I just want to continue doing more music, with purpose, more music that's positive, that can make a change, or at least just invoke and change the way people think about a certain topic,
Oh, yeah. And are you going...
We'll be doing more video, too, as well.
Yeah, please keep me posted. I want to give you my direct email, too, so hold on after this interview for that. Also, I want to ask, are you going to use that same female vocalist? Because, man, she is hot. Her voice is just incredible.
She is, and I would love to. Actually, I think I would love to, because we actually recorded, we're on 2 projects together so far, and I think she's going to be on this next project that we're doing because we have a nice formula that tends to work, and she's a joy to perform with. She's awesome, professional talent, and she just has the whole package, and so it's fun performing with her, and I think we're just discovering that we have a nice compliment on our voice vocals together.
Now, do you publicly credit her, or is she a secret?
Yeah, I think she's on the credit. Her name is Mari, so I think they credit her on the CD. I know she's not a big name that somebody would already know. I mean, I didn't collaborate on something large like that, but she definitely has the power and the star quality of a big name.
Oh, so, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you'll definitely hear more of her as well, because we just had an event last weekend, and we were talking about our next project. So you'll hear something else. I think it's going to be maybe a eye-opener. It's going to be a shocker, surprise to some people.
Well, that's great. That's what it takes. By the way, I just got to thank you for having the courage to walk this path, to choose this path where you could just sit back and not speak out and not volunteer your efforts and your talents to do this, but no, you're taking a stand, you're moving forward with courage, you're spreading a message of truth, you're helping children in so many different ways. You are the kind of person that we need in our society to stand up against the kind of corruption or distortions that we see out there from these big corporations, and to stand up for the rights of children, to protect their health. So I got to thank you for what you are doing, Chill.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. And it's just got to do it. It's just got to do it. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution, and by having the ability to speak up, or having the ability to stand up, or even having the ability to support or confront this whole idea and not doing it, you're part of the problem.
Absolutely.
For my situation, is as long as I have the ability to do it, I just figure I just got to do it.
Yeah, love it. We'd love it. We'd love to hear more from you. And is there a separate website where people can find your work, or should they just search for you on YouTube?
Definitely search for me on YouTube, /EB Chill. Just put my name in reverse, EB Chill. That takes you to my YouTube page. If you go to my, I have a website in construction right now, but if you go to www.chillybee.com, that'll take you to my one of my social sites, Facebook, I believe it is.
All right.
That it should take you to. And I'm also on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter.
All right, same name there, Chilly Bee?
Yeah, Chilly Bee. I think it may be chill_EB.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, folks, if you search for Chill EB, the letter E, the letter B, you should be able to track down his social sites. All right.
Yes.
Well, Chilly Bee, I want to thank you for taking the time to share with us here. Thank you for your music. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Oh, no doubt, Mike. Thank you for your time, and thank you to your listeners for listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope to see you again soon.
All right, I'm going to close this out by playing your song here, so get ready, folks. Enjoy Define Better by Chilly Bee.
Give me hard facts and not the heart attacks and suicide, poor lies. Violence cover up the lies. It's too incredible for most to believe, and that's exactly why they get away with children under siege. Make them define better, cause it isn't correct. That the medication has these fatal effects. We got to take this message, we got to shout it out. We got to take control, gotta stand for what we know. Make your voice known, demand to know the truth. The power's in your hands to command, they define.